Our live team coverage of Hurricane Dorian continues right now with neighbors helping neighbors get ready for the storm.
That's right. Local 10's Lauren Livingston reports now from the city of Hollywood.
So it's a reality nonetheless. Not everybody has the means or the resources to go sit in a gas line, buy gas or buy food, buy water. And that's where this Community Emergency Operations Center comes in. In fact, we're just going to walk around the corner, show you what we're talking about. Inside there are volunteers, and right now they're coordinating to actually put these grills you see there into use. We also saw some generators coming into this facility not too long ago, and all of that equipment, all of the supplies that they're stocking up here will be serving a very special purpose.
So I call it my Haitian Costco. He is always super helpful, and this is a place where I can bulk purchase.
Today we met up with Valencia Gunder at Adolph's, a supermarket in Little Haiti, where she was picking up pallets of water and other supplies to help stock her CEOC. Now, I first met Gunder a little more than a year ago. She's a community activist, and she founded Make the Homeless Smile. It's a nonprofit here in Miami. After Irma, she rallied hundreds of volunteers, opened up a community emergency operations center, and started doing these pop-up feedings in Little Haiti, Liberty City, Alapata, Opelika, and other vulnerable communities left in the dark literally after Irma. Ultimately, she helped serve more than 23,000 people. And at the time, she was just looking for a warehouse space to store equipment and supplies to do it all over again in the event of a storm. Well, our coverage led to someone donating that space, and Gunder also received a grant from the Miami Foundation to help her help more people. And with the threat of Dorian, well, the CEOC, it's been activated. And Gunder and a team of volunteers are stocking up and gearing up to go into those vulnerable communities once again.
When I say vulnerable, I'm not saying people are poor or they don't like to work, because people get all that confused. Vulnerable means that they just don't have the extra means to prepare for emergencies, and they just need a little bit of assistance. And that's all different types of people from different backgrounds, different walks of life.
And the work continues even tonight. Gunder and those volunteers have been coordinating, trying to make sure they can go out and check on some vulnerable seniors in those respective communities. And I'm told they have nearly 24 hubs spread out across Miami-Dade as well as Broward County, including some distribution centers so that they can immediately hit the ground running to help people as soon after this storm hits as they can possibly get on the ground. And Miami-Dade schools even recognized her and even passed a resolution last year honoring her and also dedicating some help to her. We're told that they'll be offering her some of their school campuses throughout those vulnerable communities so that she can have a place to go and set up those pop-up feeding sites. We're in Miami. Lauren Livingston, Local 10 News.
Right now at 6, Hurricane Dorian heading west and getting stronger.
I came for water and gas tanks.
South Florida stocking up and boarding up.
Straight ahead, follow this gentleman.
And hoping that the monster storm takes another turn before hammering Florida. We begin with the latest advisory on Dorian today. The National Hurricane Center calling Dorian an extremely dangerous hurricane that is now marching towards Florida.
And parts of the Bahamas already under a hurricane warning. Families there being warned about life-threatening storm surge and devastating winds.
And the rush for gas is leaving South Florida drivers on empty as they drive up to find their local station is simply out of fuel. We have a team of reporters here. You see they're stretched out across South Florida and getting you ready in case Dorian heads our way.
But we begin with our chief certified meteorologist, Betty Davis, and our hurricane specialist, Brian Norcross. All right, guys, take it away.
All right, let's get you in the know. Maybe you finally got out of that gas line and you're like, what is going on with this projected path? Well, as of a 5 p.m. advisory, Florida is still in the cone, so we do want you to know that, although we have seen some things in the models that are encouraging. I will mention that right off the top. But this is what we have. Major Hurricane Dorian with maximum sustained winds of 115 miles per hour, forecast to get stronger as it closes in on the Northwest Bahamas on Sunday. The Northwest Bahamas right now under a hurricane warning in anticipation of Dorian. And then, Brian, obviously we can see where the track goes from there and that there's still some uncertainty.
Right, and the National Hurricane Center is saying if it were to go where you see these Cat 4s here on that line, that they would come ashore right at the coast as a 140-mile-an-hour storm as it goes over the Gulf Stream and strengthens. So that's a really scary thing for Miami-Dade and Broward. We're close enough to that scenario that we would certainly have the effects of it. I know you have that in your forecast. But what's different at 5 o'clock today from earlier today is that we have more possible tracks here that are offshore of Florida. So the cone is kind of shifted a little bit that way, with the idea that the turn, wherever that turn is, it could be there, but then again, it could be out there.
But we don't know.
Well, we don't know. In fact, we don't know 100% that it's not like that down through us.
True.
But last night we had models down here. We had the European model, and that's what all scared us all here last night. But that's not there anymore. In fact, we'll look at where that is here in just a moment. But there are the stats.
Here is Dorian, about 400 miles east of the northwestern Bahamas. Winds, as I mentioned, 115 miles per hour. The pressure, 970 millibars. So no big change in that from the earlier advisory. Moving west-northwest now, though, at 9 miles per hour.
Right. So it's bending a little bit, and it's going slower already. So because of that, we keep delaying when the winds are going to arrive here, and now we're into the second half of Sunday for the earliest that those winds might arrive.
Visible satellite imagery. Oh, nice. There we go.
Yes, so I mean it's getting to be about as perfect a structure as you can get. Perfect structure storms intensify, and it really is. That's a sign that the atmosphere is favorable for intensification.
We can see that eye, that's for sure.
All right, so here's the initial strengthening plan here, so all the way up to the Bahamas.
Right, where we have the hurricane warning, as I mentioned, and we can show you, that was the projected path, and we can show you the forecast models, which is basically what you look at to come up with a projected path.
Right, and we have confidence in that path because all the models line up. Now the red ones are called consensus models or average models. They take all these models and add them together and say, okay, how do they average out? And look, they're right on top of the other models. And so a lot of confidence in this storm coming up to the vicinity of Florida Monday night. Now that's not too far from us in Miami-Dade and Broward. So by that time, we should be feeling significant wind and rain here, more in Broward than in Miami-Dade, but also in the Keys, right? So that's the first thing, confidence in that.
And then we go beyond there, and this is where things start to diverge a bit and why we're not sure exactly where the turn is going to happen.
Right, so all of the models you're looking at here either have it right along the coast or even to the west coast. But there's another model that's not in here, which is the European, and in this consensus that we see, the European is added into that. And now we'll look at the European in a second, but I also just wanted to show you that, look, it takes on up the East Coast. This is a Hurricane Matthew sort of situation that was horrible in Georgia and the Carolinas and parts of North Florida. Look at that. This track is very similar to that. All right, so let's look at the European. We don't have a line for the European because we just contractually, no TV station does, but we can compare the European to the rest of them, and it's close.
It is a little south, but very, very close.
So a little bit closer to us. But then it also takes off to the north, and that's why you see the consensus model here averages that and these and ends up right there. And so you'll see the cone. The cone is based on the consensus models. Normally that's what they use. And look at that. There's where the center of the cone is based on that consensus model. So for now, the fact that none of the models bring it down to the lower side of the cone, some of the models bring it up to the right and the left of the upper side of the cone, keeps us in a quadrant that seems to have the lowest possibility of a big hurricane driving through it.
Right. The farther north it goes in relation to us, the better off we are. But we know the wind field, and we will feel something.
Yes, we're going to feel it, and we're going to know it's out there, and it's going to take 2 days or so to go by, but not the worst of it, we believe. All right, Christy, back to you.
All right, thanks, guys. And as the weather team just said, parts of the Bahamas are under a hurricane warning already. Local 10 News reporter Janice Fernandez just arrived at Marsh Harbor. That's in the Abaco, and that's where they're already warning that there could be some life-threatening flash flooding. Janice?
Well, Christy, it's hard to imagine that we're even under a hurricane warning. The weather today has just been fantastic, but look at this, a very familiar sight. We've got the plywood here, and in many cases, the windows are already boarded up. Even doors are boarded up here at Abaco Ocean Resort. And it's not just resorts that are boarding up, but businesses. Let's show you this video. As we were driving from the airport to our hotel, we saw plenty of businesses boarding up. It was hard to find a business that did not have plywood or shutters in place. people here really listening to those warnings and preparing, and having this hurricane approaching is enough to make any business owner nervous.
Anxious to have it over and have it go past us. You know, you monitor it and you see what's going on, and you don't take it for granted. That's the key. We don't overreact, but we certainly are prepared for it and want to make sure that, again, I got to look at the safety of everyone.
And it's not just businesses. Of course, tourism is a huge part of Abaco, but also families and individuals who live on the island. They're grabbing supplies, they're grabbing bottled water, because in many cases, we don't know when the power will go out, how long the power will be out. So many of the people who are staying on the island, they are preparing and grabbing those supplies. But important to note that the Prime Minister said in a news conference earlier today, don't be foolish, don't be brave. If you are part of an evacuation zone, he is urging residents to please leave the island. Even tourists are being asked to leave the island. So of course, we're going to keep monitoring the situation here and bringing you the latest as Hurricane Dorian continues to approach Abaco. For now, reporting live in Marsh Harbor, Janice Fernandez, Local 10 News.
Certainly a strong warning there. Thank you, Janice.
And now to South Florida here. The rush for gas has become a major challenge. Nearly half of our gas stations are tapped out, but it's not because of a lack of fuel. Local 10 News reporter Hatzel Vela live now in Pembroke Park to explain why this is happening. Hatzel.
Calvin, it was bound to happen. We've been here all day long. We've seen the long lines. This gas station did have gas throughout the day, but take a look behind me. You can see some of the pumps no longer have gas. And because it is after work, the traffic is heavier on both sides. You can see it here in Pembroke Park. Traffic on the main road, traffic on the side road. A lot of folks hoping they can get their gas. Be ready to get to a gas station and find no gas.
Every pump you go to has lines and lines.
Be patient, because you may end up going to several.
I'm almost on E.
And if you find it,
I'm waiting more than an hour here.
be considerate to others.
Be patient. You'll be all right.
Remember, we're all in the same situation. But here's the other challenge: getting the gasoline from the port terminals to the pump. Florida's governor addressing that problem this morning.
We have a lot of fuel in Florida. It's just we have limited capacity to bring it from the port to the gas stations, because you can only have so many trucks at one time doing that.
The governor vowing to allow port terminals to remain open as long as possible. He's lifting weight restrictions on tanker trucks and is getting rid of driving limitations for the truck drivers.
I'm not sure when I'm getting my delivery.
This morning, he got 7,000 gallons.
No more!
Last night, he says he also ran out. He's not alone, as many other gas stations in the area are in the same situation.
I'm ready to get my gas and go.
She was ready. She came in. It took about 5 to 10 minutes, and she finally got out. But you can see the rest of the folks are doing the exact same thing. The governor also saying that Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia are helping with the situation when it comes to gas tankers. Hopefully they'll be able to bring some in and help alleviate what's happening here in South Florida and throughout really the rest of the state. For now, reporting live in Pembroke Park, I'm Hatzel Vela, Local 10 News.
In the meantime, be very patient out there. Okay, thanks a lot there, Hatzel. As Dorian heads toward the Florida coast here, people are scrambling to get those last-minute supplies at this Home Depot in West Park. There's still plenty of plywood with new shipments of generators and gas cans coming in regularly. We saw hundreds of people getting those items, plus batteries and other essentials, gearing up just in case Dorian does cause some trouble right here in our area.
I'm hoping it is precautionary, but yet still, it's always best to be on point and to be off point. You've got to watch the news programs that are up now, and they tell you to go to the store, be prepared. You have to be prepared. Don't wait for the last minute.
Don't wait for the last minute. What many of the stores we spoke with today did say they were having trouble keeping up with demand, but they are working to get more supplies in as quickly as possible. And all across South Florida today, families are lining up for sandbags. This was the scene in Miami, where police, city workers, and volunteers are working together to fill those bags ahead of Dorian. For a complete list of sandbagging locations in Miami-Dade and Broward, go to our website, local10.com. Well, Broward County leaders declared a state of emergency but have not issued any evacuation orders.
And Miami-Dade, also no evacuation orders there as well, but tourists are cutting some of their vacations a little short. Local 10 News reporter Glenna Milberg is live on the beach right now.
Christy, Calvin, you know, all of that uncertainty that we've been talking about all day, that sure does play into a lot of the visitors here. Should we go early? Will we be able to go home early next week like we planned? A lot of questions going on. But what we did find here on the beach is a lot of business that's already making plans to exit.
They began moving containers of umbrellas and lounges off the beach. Assigned to Labor Day visitors, this party is about to be cut short.
So we are going home this afternoon.
So you had a big change of plans. When?
This morning at 7 a.m.
W, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
What did they tell you, if anything?
They closed down the pool at 2 o'clock today, and they just said be careful. But they were really, really cool about us canceling the rest of our trip.
Did they mention any plan for evacuation, possibly?
No, the girl said that they've got really good windows or something, so it'd probably be the safest place to be if there was a hurricane.
We keep talking about it, but we have blizzards back home and we party when there's blizzards, so.
These Rhode Islanders in town for a bachelorette party were looking for assurances where none exist yet.
What's the plan now?
Oh, well, hopefully just leave before it starts.
When are you set to leave?
Sunday afternoon. We have a 1 o'clock flight.
While visitors weigh options,
we just have like to unleash all the boards from there, disinflate them, and then just put it inside of the van and take it to our other location.
we saw the businesses that serve them make decisions.
You're packing up for what, the rest of the weekend?
Probably until Wednesday. I read today that it's supposed to come on Tuesday. Like the hurricane is coming on Tuesday, so probably until Wednesday.
That seems like a big business hit.
Yeah, it is.
Out here along South Ocean Drive, you see a lot of the businesses that are more brick and mortar, of course, are staying open. It is really, as is during pre-hurricane coverage, it is a beautiful day on Miami Beach, but there is no doubt that whatever happens with Hurricane Dorian, there are so many businesses that will absolutely be taking an economic hit on this Labor Day weekend, not only here in Miami Beach, but all up and down the coast in the communities that rely on visitors for their economy. I'm Glenna Milberg, live on Miami Beach today, Local 10 News.
All right, Glenna, thank you. After a dozen deaths at a Hollywood nursing home during Hurricane Irma just 2 years ago, Florida changed laws to require backup generators at all nursing homes and assisted living facilities. The owner of Peace and Love Assisted Living Facility in Miami invited us in to see their brand new backup generator. And despite having the requirement done, that facility appeared as non-compliant with generator rules on a state list.
I don't know, because a lot of people, once we do it, we finish, they never check back with us to make sure we were done. I guess the whole process was yesterday when the fire inspector came.
Well, we did check back and learned that the City of Miami fire inspector did sign off on that facility in full compliance. There are now 20 Miami-Dade and Broward facilities named on that state list that are considered behind. Emergency hotlines have been set up for people with questions in Miami-Dade, so call 311 for general information or dial 305-468-5900. And in Broward County, the 311 emergency hotline will be open from 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. To assist residents, you can dial 311 or call 954-837-4000.
And the hurricane hunters are going to be really busy over the next couple of days. Take a look at this video. It was released by NOAA. Isn't it incredible? This footage was taken while inside the eye of the hurricane over the Atlantic Ocean. The hurricane hunters help bring in the very latest information that helps determine the forecast for the storm. And stay with Local 10 for more live reports from the Bahamas with Janice Fernandez as Dorian approaches and conditions deteriorate there. And have you got a question you want to ask our Brian Norcross? You can send that to askbrian@local10.com. You can also send them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram using the hashtag AskBrian. And be sure to keep it right here on Local 10 for our continuing coverage of Hurricane Dorian.